The sun was setting on Varric City, casting long shadows over the dusty streets and gleaming towers. The city had once been a shining jewel of the planet Zareen, but now its glory was fading. Cracks ran through the tall buildings and the air was thick with smoke from recent conflicts. Commander Kale Varric walked hurriedly through the streets, his heart heavy with worry. His small daughter, Lyra, should have been playing in the open squares, laughing like she always did. Instead, the streets were empty and eerie. Kale's mind raced. The patrol drones that hovered overhead were silent now, but that did not mean the danger was gone. Rumors of alien raiders had been spreading for weeks, and Kale had feared this day might come. He quickened his pace, scanning every alley, every shadow. "Lyra," he called out, his voice trembling slightly.
"Lyra, where are you?"
No answer came. Only the wind whispered through the cracked walls, carrying the scent of smoke and scorched metal. Kale's chest tightened. He remembered her smile that morning, the way she had clutched his hand as he kissed her forehead. How could she just vanish like that? Suddenly, a deep rumbling sound echoed through the city. Kale froze, recognizing it instantly. The low hum of the alien ships that had been spotted near the city's outskirts. His heart leapt into his throat. He ran toward the noise, dodging debris and fallen structures, hoping it wasn't too late. The sky darkened as the ships descended. They were massive, black and ominous, with jagged wings that blocked the sunlight. From beneath them, small pods dropped like falling stars. Kale's breath caught when he saw one land near the city center. He ran toward it, but before he could reach his daughter, chaos erupted. Explosions shook the ground. Alien raiders poured out of the pods, their armor glinting in the fading sunlight. Kale's pulse raced as he fought his way forward, deflecting energy blasts with his own protective shield. He could hear screams and the pounding of running feet around him. "Lyra," he yelled again, desperation in his voice. And then he saw her. She was standing at the edge of the plaza, small and frightened, clutching a worn doll to her chest. Her eyes widened when she saw the raiders and she stumbled backward. Kale's heart froze. He sprinted toward her, shouting, "Lyra, hold on!"
"I'm coming."
But before he could reach her, one of the raiders lunged forward and grabbed her. Kale threw himself at the alien, but the creature was stronger than anything he had faced before. It slammed him to the ground with a force that knocked the air from his lungs. Kale struggled, but more raiders surrounded them, cutting off his path. "Lyra," he screamed, crawling toward her. But a massive explosion from the center of the plaza threw him backward. Dust and smoke filled his lungs. When he looked up, the pods had already lifted, disappearing into the sky, and with them his daughter. Kale collapsed onto his knees, coughing and choking, staring at the empty sky. His world had shattered in an instant. He had lost his little girl. His Lyra. Hours passed. Kyle wandered through the wreckage of the city, calling her name over and over, each shout more desperate than the last. The city was in ruins, but he could not rest. He refused to believe she was gone forever. Somewhere, somehow, she might still be alive. He returned to his command center, now a makeshift bunker in the city's old central tower. Holographic screens flickered weakly, showing the aftermath of the raid. Reports came in from survivors. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Families were torn apart. And yet Kale's focus was solely on one thing: finding Lyra. He activated a small tracking device she had worn, a gift he had given her on her last birthday. Normally it only worked within the city, but he hoped it might detect her unique energy signature even from afar. The screen blinked for a long moment, and then, there it was. A faint signal pulsing far beyond the city, outside the planet's atmosphere. Kale's heart skipped. It was weak, almost undetectable, but it was there. Alive. Somehow, against all odds, she was alive. He packed his essentials quickly: weapons, supplies, and a portable shield generator. He would not waste a single moment. Kale knew the journey ahead would be dangerous. The galaxy was vast and hostile forces were everywhere, but he had faced impossible odds before, and he would do it again. As he prepared to leave, Kale paused, staring at a small portrait of Lyra on his desk. She had drawn it herself with bright colors and messy lines. Her smiling face seemed to look at him, reminding him of why he had to survive. For her, the next day, Kale boarded a small scout ship, one designed for speed and stealth rather than combat. He had to follow her energy signature without attracting attention from alien patrols. The engines hummed softly as the ship lifted off the ruined city. Kale took a deep breath, gripping the controls tightly. "Hold on, Lyra," he whispered. I'm coming for you. I promise. The journey through space was long and tense. Kale navigated through asteroid belts and ion storms, scanning constantly for the faint energy signal. He encountered small obstacles, rogue meteor fragments that could pierce his ship, unstable energy fields that threatened to knock him off course, and strange cosmic phenomena that no one could fully explain. Each danger reminded him of how fragile life could be, and how strong determination was. Days passed. Kale slept only briefly, fueled by the thought of his daughter waiting somewhere out there. He recalled every moment of her childhood, the way she had learned to run across the yard without fear, the way her laughter could fill a room, the little stories she invented about stars and planets far away. These memories became his fuel, keeping his mind sharp and his heart steady. Then, on the 5th day, a strange sight appeared on his scanner. A small, deserted moon, orbiting a lifeless gas giant. The energy signature matched Lyra's faintly. Relief surged through him, mixed with renewed fear. What had happened to her? And was she still safe? Kyle adjusted the ship's course. He had no idea what he would find on the moon. Alien raiders? Dangerous wildlife? Or had she been rescued by someone else entirely? His stomach tightened, but he could not turn back. He had come too far. As he approached the moon, he noticed something unusual. Tracks leading from the landing site of the pod to a small cave. The energy signature was stronger now, flickering inside the cave. Kyle's pulse quickened. He activated his armor and weapons, stepping out of the ship carefully. The cave was dark, but he could see faint traces of movement. Then a small figure appeared, a child, pale and weak, but unmistakably Lyra. She was clutching something close to her chest. Her eyes widened and she gasped, "Papa." Kale ran to her, tears streaming down his face. "Lyra, oh my sweet Lyra." He scooped her up, holding her tightly. She was alive. She was really alive. But before he could fully relax, a new presence emerged from the shadows. A figure he had never seen before. A human, carrying supplies and tending to Lyra's wounds. The stranger looked at Kale calmly, almost as if he had been expecting him. Kale's mind raced. Who was this human? Why was he here? And most importantly, had he saved Lyra from a fate worse than death? Kyle gripped Lyra tightly and looked at the stranger, his heart full of questions. One thing was certain. His journey to rescue his daughter had only just begun, and the universe was about to reveal that humans were unlike any beings he had ever known. The outskirts of Kale's homeworld loomed ahead, a mix of familiar terrain and danger. Smoke from distant fires marked the devastation left by alien raids, and patrol drones scanned the skies in sharp arcs. The air felt heavier here, tense with uncertainty. Kyle gripped the controls tightly, Lyra's small hand in his, while Elias monitored their surroundings with keen precision. Approaching the outpost, Elias said quietly, "There are enemy mercenaries stationed there. We need to be careful." Kale's jaw tightened. He had spent days imagining this moment, the reunion with Lyra, the return to safety. But reality was more dangerous than his dreams. The outpost, perched on a rocky plateau, bristled with weapons and scanning systems. Alien mercenaries patrolled the perimeter, their armored figures moving like shadows in the dim light. "We can't take them head on," Kyle said. "We'll need to distract them." "Elias, do you have a plan?" Elias's eyes narrowed. "Yes, we'll use the terrain. There's a narrow canyon to the east. I can lead some of the mercenaries away using a decoy signal. You take Lyra and move quietly through the canyon to the extraction point." Kale nodded. He trusted Elias's instincts. They had guided them through impossible situations before. "Let's move." The scout ship descended cautiously, hidden among rocky ridges. Lyra clung to Kale's arm, her small body tense with both fear and anticipation. "Papa, will we really see home soon?" she whispered. Kyle smiled gently, brushing her hair from her face. "Yes, my little star. Soon, we will be safe." Elias activated a small device that emitted a holographic signal, drawing the attention of the nearest mercenary patrol. Mechanical eyes turned toward the light, and the soldiers hurried toward it, leaving gaps in the outpost's defenses. Kale moved swiftly, keeping low behind boulders as he led Lyra through the canyon. Each step was careful, deliberate. The sound of distant gunfire echoed across the rocky plains, but Elias had created enough of a distraction to give them a safe path. Almost there. Elias's voice crackled through the communicator. Stay calm. Keep moving. They reached the edge of the outpost where a small shuttle was hidden behind debris. Cale's heart pounded. The craft was small, just enough for the three of them, but it could get them away from the mercenaries. Lyra's eyes widened. Is this really going to take us home? Cale nodded, holding her close. Yes, Lyra. This is the way home. Just as they reached the shuttle, a mercenary patrol rounded the canyon entrance. Cale froze. They had been spotted. Elias's voice was calm but firm. Move quickly. I'll hold them off. Cale glanced at him, shock and gratitude mixing in his chest. Elias stepped forward, taking a bold stance in plain view. Energy pulses and warning shots blazed around him, drawing the mercenaries' fire. The human's movements were precise, calculated, and fearless. He dodged, blocked, and returned shots with uncanny skill, buying Cale and Lyra the time they needed. Cale ushered Lyra into the shuttle. She looked back at Elias, her eyes wide. He's saving us. Cale nodded, pressing the launch button. Yes, he's brave, my little star. Brave enough to save the day. The shuttle lifted off just as Elias triggered a secondary device, creating a blinding light that confused the mercenaries. Cale watched from the cockpit, awe in his eyes as Elias sprinted toward a hidden escape route. The human's courage and ingenuity shone brighter than any weapon. Hold on, Elias shouted, disappearing into the shadows. Cale piloted the shuttle with steady hands, maneuvering through rocky outcrops and energy fire. The mercenaries fired, but none could reach them. Within minutes, they were clear, soaring above the plateau into the open skies. Lyra pressed against Cale, tears streaming down her face. Papa, I'm so glad you came. Cale held her tightly. I promised, little star. I promised I would never let anything happen to you. They set a course toward the city. Cale's mind raced with relief and gratitude. Elias had risked everything to save them. Humans were not only strong, but their courage, intelligence, and willingness to protect others set them apart in ways Cale had never fully understood. Hours later, the shuttle touched down safely in a secluded area of the city. Cale helped Lyra out, feeling the solid ground beneath his feet for the first time in days. The city, though scarred, was alive with survivors rebuilding. The sight brought both relief and resolve. Cale hugged Lyra, feeling her small body press against him. We're home, my little star. You're safe now. Lyra looked up, her eyes shining with gratitude and admiration. And he helped us too. The human. Cale turned to see Elias approaching, stepping out from the shadows. Lyra ran to him, hugging his leg. Thank you. For saving me. Elias smiled softly, kneeling to meet her gaze. You were brave, Lyra. I just helped a little. You did most of the work by surviving. Cale's chest swelled with pride and gratitude. Humanity had proven itself extraordinary, not just through strength, but through heart, courage, and cleverness. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. As the three stood together, Cale felt a renewed sense of hope. They had survived, they were reunited, and the future, though uncertain, held promise. The city was alive with the quiet hum of rebuilding. Buildings scarred by battle were slowly repaired, streets cleared of debris, and survivors shared stories of resilience. Cale walked through the streets, Lyra holding his hand, while Elias followed closely behind. Everywhere they went, people looked at the human with awe. Stories of his courage and cleverness had already spread. Humans, it seemed, were becoming a symbol of hope in a galaxy that often knew fear instead. Lyra skipped ahead, pointing at familiar places in the city. Papa, that's where I used to play. And that's the square where we had the festival. Cale smiled, his heart lightening. Yes, little star. And soon we'll restore everything we've lost. Together. Elias watched them, a thoughtful expression on his face. He had traveled far from his home, faced countless dangers, yet nothing compared to the joy of seeing a family reunited. Humans were capable of incredible feats, but their greatest strength was the ability to inspire hope and courage in others. Cale led Lyra to their home, now a safe haven amid the ruins. The walls were battered, but the warmth of family filled the space. Lyra ran to her room, placing her small treasures back in their places. She turned to Cale and Elias. Thank you, both of you. Cale knelt beside her. It's what family and friends do, Lyra. We protect those we love and we never give up. Elias nodded. And sometimes even strangers can become friends worth trusting. Over the next days, the trio helped rebuild the city. Cale coordinated with other survivors, organizing supplies and defenses. Lyra helped with small tasks, her laughter returning to the streets.
And Elias?
He became a quiet force of guidance, teaching humans and aliens alike techniques for safety, resourcefulness, and cooperation. One evening, as the sun set over the repaired skyline, Kale looked at Elias. "You've done more than I could have imagined." "You're extraordinary," Elias smiled faintly. "We try our best. And seeing life continue, it makes it worth it." Lyra ran up, holding a small model spaceship she had built. "Papa, I want to be like him. I want to explore the stars and help others, just like Elias." Kale's eyes glistened. "And you will, little star. You will." As the night settled, Kale received a strange communication on his personal device. A message from an unknown region of space, faint and mysterious, hinting at dangers and opportunities far beyond their current knowledge. Kale shared the message with Elias. "The universe. It's not done with us yet, but with humans like you, I feel ready for whatever comes next." Elias's expression was calm but determined. "The galaxy is vast, full of challenges, but together we can face anything." Lyra, listening to the conversation, whispered to herself, "I want to see it all." With them, Kale held her close. "You will, little star, and one day you'll help others too, just like Elias helped you." The city's lights shimmered, a beacon of resilience. The past had been filled with loss and fear, but the present shone with hope and courage. Humanity's presence had changed the course of events, proving that bravery, intelligence, and compassion could shape the destiny of worlds. And as the stars twinkled above, Kale, Lyra, and Elias looked toward the future, a universe full of possibilities, adventure, and the promise that humans would always stand as a symbol of hope and strength. The journey had ended, but a new chapter had begun. Together, they would face whatever the galaxy had in store, carrying the light of courage and humanity wherever they went. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before them, a dark sea of stars and distant planets. Commander Kale Varick sat in the pilot's seat of the small scout ship, hands gripping the controls, his eyes fixed on the navigation panel. Beside him, Elias Carter monitored sensors and energy readings, while Lyra sat quietly in the small cabin, her hands clutching a soft blanket. The child had begun to trust the human who had saved her, but she still leaned on her father's strength as a shield against the uncertainty of the universe. Kyle had thought the hardest part was finding Lyra. He had been wrong. The journey back to their homeworld would test them in ways he had not imagined. Space was unforgiving. Asteroid fields, rogue comets, and hostile patrols were only the beginning. And somewhere in the dark reaches, alien raiders still hunted for survivors. "Kale," Elias said, pointing at the holographic display, "there's a meteor cluster ahead. Its trajectory intersects our path. We'll need to navigate carefully or risk damage to the hull." Kale nodded, his jaw tight. "Adjust the shields and plot a safe course through the cluster." "Lyra, hold on tight." Lyra's small hands gripped the armrest of her seat, eyes wide as the ship rocked violently. She swallowed her fear, her trust in her father and Elias steadying her. "Papa, we'll be okay, right?" Kyle gave her a reassuring smile, though his heart pounded. "We will. Just stay calm, my little star." Elias took control of the navigation for a moment, analyzing the patterns of moving asteroids. "We can thread through these gaps if we move in a tight formation." "Kale, I'll guide you. Just follow my lead." The ship shuddered as they entered the cluster. Rocks the size of buildings drifted past, some spinning rapidly. Kale's hands moved with precision, following Elias's guidance. Sparks flew across the control panel as a small fragment grazed the hull, but Elias's quick adjustments kept them on course. Lyra clutched her blanket tightly, whispering prayers she did not fully understand. She glanced at Elias and felt a strange sense of calm. Humans could do incredible things, she realized. Even in the most dangerous situations, Elias remained composed, using his mind and skills to protect them all. Finally, the asteroid cluster lay behind them. The ship floated silently in the calm expanse, and Lyra let out a small sigh of relief. Kale exhaled, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and gratitude. He looked at Elias, who nodded calmly as if it had been nothing more than a routine exercise. "You humans," Kyle said, shaking his head in disbelief. "You always seem to know what to do even when things are impossible." Elias smiled faintly. "We adapt. That's what makes us survive." Kyle considered those words. Adaptation, courage, and ingenuity, qualities that made humans formidable in the galaxy. He realized that Elias's presence was more than helpful. It was a reminder that humanity had a unique strength. Kale had relied on his own training and skill for years, but with Elias, they had a combination of instinct, intelligence, and morality that few species could match. As the ship moved forward, a distant patrol beacon appeared on the sensors, an alien ship scanning for survivors. Kale's heart raced. "We have company," he said. Elias studied the display. "They haven't detected us yet, but if they do, we need a plan. We can't outrun them. They're faster and more armed than this ship," Kale thought quickly. "We'll use the asteroid debris as cover. If we can maneuver close enough, their scanners might not pick us up." Elias nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Humans always find a way." Together they executed the plan. The scout ship wove through the debris, sensors flickering as they dodged detection beams. The alien ship passed without noticing them, its scanners fooled by the moving asteroids. Lyra watched in awe, gripping Kale's arm. "You humans are amazing," she whispered. Kale chuckled softly. "You're beginning to understand, little one. Humans have a way of turning the impossible into possible." The next challenge came quickly. As they approached a dense nebula, energy storms erupted across the sensors. Lightning-like discharges and magnetic fluctuations threatened to disable the ship's systems. Elias immediately took action, rerouting power and stabilizing the shields. Kale adjusted the thrusters, keeping the ship steady. The storm raged around them, glowing clouds swirling like living beings. Lyra's eyes were wide, both frightened and fascinated. She had never seen anything so beautiful and dangerous at the same time. "Hold on," Kale shouted, gripping the controls. "We're almost through!" Elias coordinated with him, their teamwork seamless. The ship lurched violently as a massive energy burst struck nearby, but they emerged on the other side, the storm behind them. The nebula glowed softly now, serene and silent as if nothing had happened. Lyra exhaled deeply. "That was amazing." Kale laughed softly, a sound of relief. "Yes, it was. And we survived thanks to Elias." Elias smiled at her. "You survived too, Lyra. That's the most important part." For several hours they traveled in relative calm. Kale allowed himself brief moments of rest while Elias maintained the ship. Lyra began to ask questions, her curiosity returning. "Elias, how did you know how to fix the ship during the storm?" Elias chuckled softly. "Humans are problem solvers. We figure things out as we go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we keep trying because giving up isn't an option." Lyra thought about that. Humans never gave up. That's why they could survive the impossible. And now she realized they had a human with them, not just to save her life, but to help bring her home. But danger was never far away. Sensors soon detected another signal, smaller raider ships faster than before, converging from multiple directions. Kale's stomach tightened. "They've found us." Elias studied the readings calmly. "Yes, but we have options. We can split their attention. I'll take one path, you take another. Lyra stays in the center. We stay together, but unpredictable." Kale nodded. He trusted Elias's instincts. "Do it." The scout ship moved with precision, weaving through space as raider ships chased them. Elias directed Kale with split-second commands, their synchronization perfect. Missiles were fired, scanners jammed, and the raiders struggled to keep up with the unpredictable maneuvers. Lyra watched, heart pounding, amazed by the humans' courage. She had thought the universe was full of dangers too big to survive, but now she realized that with humans there was hope. Humans could think, adapt, and protect, not just themselves but others too. After what felt like hours, the raiders gave up the chase, frustrated by the clever tactics. The ship's hull bore minor damage, but they were safe for now. Kale exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. "That was too close." Elias smiled faintly. "Close calls teach us something. We adapt. We survive." Kale looked at his daughter, sleeping peacefully despite the chaos they had endured. He realized that survival was not just about strength or weapons. It was about heart, intelligence, and the willingness to help others, even strangers. Humans embodied all of that. As the ship moved deeper into the star systems near their homeworld, Kale felt a growing sense of determination. The universe was dangerous, but they were not alone. With Elias by their side, they had a chance to reach home, to restore hope, and to rebuild what had been lost. Lyra stirred, opening her eyes. Papa, and will we see home soon? Kale smiled gently. Yes, little star. Soon we will be home. Elias adjusted the ship's course, glancing at Kale. We're close, but we must remain vigilant. The galaxy doesn't forgive mistakes, and there are still challenges ahead. Kale nodded, his grip tightening on the controls. We will face them together. Lyra, Elias, and I. Nothing will stop us. For the first time since the raid, hope filled Kale's heart. They had survived the impossible, and with humans like Elias by their side, he believed they could face anything the universe might throw at them. As the scout ship raced through the stars, the trio prepared for the challenges ahead. The journey back was far from over, but they had discovered something more important than safety: courage, trust, and the extraordinary strength of humans. And in the quiet moments between bursts of light and darkness, Lyra began to dream not just of home, but of a future where humans and aliens could work together. Overcoming the dangers of a vast and unpredictable universe, the journey back had begun, and Kale knew without a doubt that they would survive. The moon's surface was cold and barren, bathed in pale light from the gas giant that loomed above. Commander Kale Varric held his daughter Lyra tightly, still trying to calm the rapid beating of his heart. She pressed against him, shivering slightly, but she was alive. That alone was a miracle. Kale's eyes shifted to the stranger who had been tending to her. The human stood calmly, hands raised slightly in a gesture of peace. He was tall, with broad shoulders and short dark hair. His uniform was simple, a mix of practical armor and utility pockets. A gentle, confident smile crossed his face. I'm Elias Carter, the man said, his voice steady and kind. I found her when the raiders left her behind. She was hurt, but she's safe now. Kyle studied him carefully. Humans were rare in this region of the galaxy. They were known for their resilience and ingenuity, but Kale had never personally met one. Still, there was no mistaking the truth. Elias had saved Lyra. Thank you, Kale said, his voice hoarse. You saved my daughter. Elias nodded. She was frightened and alone. I couldn't just leave her there. She's brave, but she needed help. Lyra blinked up at the human, her small hands clutching Kale's armor. Her voice was barely a whisper. He helped me, Papa. He saved me. Kyle nodded slowly, his mind still racing. The immediate danger had passed, but now a new question weighed on him. Who was this human, and why was he here? The galaxy was full of dangers, and humans were powerful, but they rarely involved themselves in alien affairs. Elias's calmness and courage puzzled Kale, yet gave him a strange sense of hope. Kale gestured toward the cave. We need to get her somewhere safe. There could still be raiders nearby. Elias agreed. I've prepared a small shelter further inside the cave. It's protected from the elements and easy to defend. You should rest, and so should she. Then we can plan our next move. Reluctantly, Kale followed Elias deeper into the cave. The walls glowed faintly from bioluminescent crystals embedded in the rock, casting soft, warm light. Lyra's eyes widened at the sight, momentarily forgetting the fear that had gripped her for days. Elias knelt beside her, producing a small pack of supplies. He pulled out clean water, soft food, and a medical kit. You need to eat and drink, he said gently. You've been through a lot. Lyra hesitated, then slowly took a sip of water. Kyle watched silently, his gratitude toward this human growing. Elias worked quickly and skillfully, cleaning and bandaging small wounds on Lyra's arms and legs. Each movement was careful, precise, yet kind. You're very strong, Elias said, smiling at her. Most children would have been too frightened to survive out here. But you kept going. Lyra looked up at him, unsure how to respond. Her voice was small, almost a whisper. I didn't want to be alone. Elias's expression softened. None of us do. But you were brave enough to survive even when it was scary. That's something to be proud of. Kale's heart swelled. He had been so consumed with fear and guilt, but seeing his daughter safe and hearing her slowly regain confidence brought him a moment of relief. Still, the universe was not kind, and Kale knew their troubles were far from over. Elias, Kyle said finally, breaking the silence. How did you find her? The human glanced at him, eyes thoughtful. I follow energy signals. Lyra's signal was faint, but I detected it the moment the raiders left. I didn't know who she was, only that she needed help. Kale nodded. He realized that humans' resourcefulness was unlike anything he had encountered before. Elias had not waited for orders or instructions. He had acted relying on instinct, intelligence, and courage. Humans could make choices in dangerous situations that others might hesitate to make. Night fell on the moon, the sky deepening to a dark velvet dotted with stars. Kale sat near Lyra, holding her close as she rested. Elias prepared a small fire using a compact energy source, creating warmth and a gentle glow in the cave. The sound of the crackling fire was comforting, a small reminder of home in a universe that felt cold and dangerous. As the hours passed, Kyle finally allowed himself to speak freely. "You humans are strange," he said, half in awe, half in curiosity. "So far from here and yet, willing to risk yourself for someone you do not even know." Elias shrugged lightly. "We believe in helping others. Sometimes it's instinct, sometimes choice. But survival is not just about yourself. Helping others can make the difference between hope and despair." Kale studied him. He realized that humans were not just physically capable. They carried a moral strength that few species had. That strength could inspire others even in the darkest of times. Lyra stirred, opening her eyes and looking at Elias. "Papa, can he come with us?" Kale hesitated, then smiled. "Yes, if he will." Elias nodded. "I will help get her home, and I'll make sure nothing stops us." The next day, Kale, Lyra, and Elias prepared to leave the moon. Supplies were packed, weapons checked, and the small scout ship readied. Kale had not yet spoken about the larger plan, returning to their homeworld. But he knew that Elias's presence would be invaluable. A human's intelligence, courage, and adaptability could turn the odds in their favor. As they took off from the moon's surface, the barren landscape shrinking beneath them, Kale felt a mixture of relief and determination. He had found Lyra, yes, but now the journey back to safety would be long and dangerous. And he would need allies he could trust. Lyra sat between them in the ship, her small hands holding onto a blanket. She looked at Elias with a quiet curiosity. Will we be safe?" she asked. Elias smiled gently. "We will do everything we can to keep you safe. You are brave, Lyra, and brave people survive." The journey through space began in silence, each of them lost in their thoughts. Kale thought about the raiders, the dangers that might lie ahead, and the delicate thread of hope that had brought them together. Elias considered the challenges of navigating through hostile territory and keeping the small child safe. And Lyra, for the first time in days, allowed herself a small spark of hope. Hours turned into days. Kale piloted the ship through asteroid fields and energy storms, while Elias monitored sensors and maintained the ship's systems. Every obstacle was met with ingenuity and quick thinking. When a meteor fragment threatened to breach the hull, Elias calculated a new trajectory in seconds, saving them from disaster. Kale could not help but admire the human skill. At night, Lyra slept wrapped in a warm blanket. Kale watched over her, feeling a protective strength he had not known he could summon. Elias kept watch as well, scanning for threats beyond the ship. The small team, though unlikely, had formed a bond built on trust and shared purpose. On the 5th day, the energy signature that had guided Kale's search began to strengthen again. Lyra stirred, sensing they were closer to home. Kale felt a surge of hope. "Almost there," he said softly, more to himself than to anyone else. "Almost home." Elias glanced at him, nodding. "We'll make it. And when we do, she'll be safe. That's what matters." Kale realized then that humans were remarkable not just because of their strength, but because of their heart. They could face impossible dangers and still choose to protect others, even strangers. In a universe full of conflict, humans were a reminder that courage and kindness could endure. Lyra smiled in her sleep, dreaming of a reunion she had longed for, unaware of the challenges still ahead. Kale held her hand, silently vowing to do whatever it took to bring her home. And as the ship hurtled through the dark expanse of space, he knew that the human beside them was more than an ally. He was a symbol of hope in a galaxy that had known too little of it. The adventure was only beginning, but for the first time in days, Kale felt a sense of certainty. His daughter was alive. They were not alone, and together they would face the stars.